Woo! All right. Yeah, that's all right. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous. My name is Tom. We are live. This is podcast, I don't know, 87, I believe. Today, I am joined by our good friend, James Cubby Knoll. How are you doing?
Hey,
How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Watching Princeton Notre Dame here, close game.
Excellent. Okay, so, we are Fantasy Sports Addicts, and we're going to do a little Poddly-Doo cast here and talk about some fantasy sports topics. Today, like I said, we're kind of enjoying the World Baseball Classic, the March Madness. We're enjoying all of that. As far as news, James, do you have any news? I don't know if we have any official FSAA news.
No, but I do have some fake news.
Okay, fake news. Let's hear the fake news.
Yes. If you've seen that Cody Allen's hurt, he's not. It's Cody Anderson, who's also a right-handed relief pitcher for the Indians. So don't be fooled. And I'm talking to you, Fantrax.
So this is a Fantrax fuck up. Then you're describing something Fantrax has failed at yet again. Is that the?
Yes. No.
Oh no.
That's pretty standard.
Okay. Wow. So fake news. Fake news.
Yes. Alternative facts. If you go on Cody Allen's player profile page, it'll say that he sprained his UCL and that Andrew Miller has more value.
That's okay. So that's obviously we talked about this. You sent me a text yesterday, sometime in the morning, and I hadn't heard that news. I had not heard that Cody Allen was injured. I know he's a guy I've reached for, or not necessarily reached for, but drafted in quite a bit of our mock drafting and other, activities. But he's he's a very positive closer to have. He's one of my favorite guys. And
yeah, well, he's going at a point where you don't feel bad about taking him because he's not like the elite guys that are going like before round, 8.
Right.
And like a standard 12, 14 team. But yeah, I was glad to hear he wasn't hurt because I'd still like to target him.
And you're definitely
a lot of,
you're targeting him. We're all targeting him. And he's a favorite target for any of the addicts. Andrew loves him. So
sure.
I think that was like a sigh of relief, though. I mean, when you first told me that, I was like, no, the pitching market gets thinner again. It just keeps getting worse.
Maybe we should just stay there with injuries, man. This is the time of year where you're glad that your main leagues haven't drafted yet. So, so that was alternative facts. But who else we got? We got David Price, obviously.
Okay, and that was those were facts, but they were just cloudy facts about his arm injury. Like he's going to be missing several weeks to start the season now. It sounds like
and
at least 2.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I was going to say he'll probably rest at least a month. I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't like that. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, he went in a slow draft that I've told you about with the 18-teamer. He went at pick 125.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he's obviously fallen because of the injury risk and just the length of time he may miss. That's not good.
No, it's not. And the pitching is already kind of So
right. This is the year of no pitching. I think it's just the year where I'm just not even playing pitching, I guess. I don't know. There's just nothing to draft. You either get it all really early or you don't know what you're doing until later in the draft, it seems like.
Yeah. If I don't get ace quickly, then I'm probably scrapping it till the later rounds, middle.
Right.
Who else we got that's injured? Ian Desmond. Ian Desmond owners, I know a lot of people are targeting him because the Coors Field effect and the 2020 possibility. And if you need a first baseman late, he could be a guy that turns into that. Well, now he's going to be out till
a little while,
end of April.
Yeah, we got similar situation. I may have overtapped the Rockies. I'm just saying this. I know I was big on the tap the Rockies draft strategy. I may have actually overtapped the Rockies early.
Now your team's just looking drunk and injured.
Well, again, I'm missing now, like you said, Desmond and of course Tom Murphy, the catcher. Right?
Yeah, he's out a month or so, probably at least.
Yeah. And then we talked about that in the home dynasty leagues. That's not good because we were all kind of like, well, I don't have a catcher, so hopefully
I'll get Murphy.
now we're all like, shit, what are we doing?
Yeah, now it's like Austin Hedges.
Yeah. There's not a lot out there. Maybe I'll just go back to the whole drawing board thing and I guess I'll just be stashing Ramos or something. I don't know. Just wait for 2
that might
months.
be the best option. Like it's kind of like starting pitching with catching. It's gotten even sadder.
Yeah, it really has. It really has. It's just so this is like the doldrums, the dog days of spring. And speaking of the dog days, we just got a ding dong from Jerko again. Jerko, he's just jerk ass. He's just dinging and donging all over the place. Sorry, I'm watching spring training.
That's cool.
So that's kind of the news wire, I guess, as far as what's happened for your fantasy baseball info.
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's one more prominent injury, and that is keep an eye on Carrasco.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that is not good.
So be wary of him. He was a guy we all liked. He's in that second tier of aces. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of just hoping people get through spring training.
Do you hear Alexa in the background? Do you hear this?
Yes, I do.
Alexa, turn off. Jesus Christ, that bitch is fucking wild.
Yeah, that was loud.
She just jumps right into action all the time, man. I think she heard me say the word news. Next thing I know, she's going to be ordering dollhouses.
Yeah, for
Jesus.
Sure. Well, spring training is I like to call it fake baseball. Let's get to some. I guess you'd call it real baseball. WBC.
It's so real. It's the most real. Now, have you ever watched? I mean, I don't know. I'm very, very, very spoiled on World Baseball Classic. I've been to every single finals. This is the first year I won't be going. I've absolutely fallen in love with it as far as a just form of competition in the sport of baseball. So I'm just curious, like, how everybody else views this. Like, have you had much experience?
No, I mean, I've been to 0 games being on the East Coast, but I guess I could have gone this year because they're in Miami. But
right.
The first go around, I was into it. Second round, a little bit. But fast forwarding to now, I haven't really been watching it, but I've been kind of keeping a close eye, and I've kind of have wanted to start watching because the highlights are just like you can hear the crowd and the highlights and the players like they actually fucking care.
Yes.
Yes. Like you can see they're into it. Like what was it last night where Cruz was thrown out and Javi Baez is like talking shit basically before he even tags him. And
yeah, that was 2 nights ago. Yeah, well, because it was such a bang play where like again just bullet throw from Yadier Molina. And
they're all pumped up.
Yeah, Javi's like no look tag. He's not even looking. It's just a no look tag, and like they're already celebrating the out before Cruz comes sliding in. Like it's great. I mean, honestly, for me, the beauty of World Baseball Classic is that festive World Cup type environment. It's more of like a soccer tournament because like all these different countries and their fans. Each country's team plays a different style of baseball, and each set of fans has a unique style of cheering and rooting for their team, and it is just infectious. I mean, I have never watched games that felt more like I've been to high caliber playoff games for Major League Baseball before, and I have never felt an environment as like pumped up as World Baseball Classic. I mean, like I could not take a horn, a pot or a pan or a drum or a cheese grater into a baseball stadium outside of World Baseball Classic. But all of that is fair game. The fans are out of control. The teams are like playing like their fucking hair's on fire. I mean, it really is. Sure. It's the best. I don't know, man. I'm bummed you're not seeing a little bit of it. You need to see some more of this.
I really do.
We got Venezuela, Dominican Republic tonight, and that is not going to be a quiet game. That is not going to be a quiet game. That is going to be some fun.
Not at all. And the game we were referencing with Javi and the Molina, that stopped Dominican's streak, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know if you guys remember 4 years ago, Dominican Republic was unbeaten. They didn't lose a single game in the Classic. They had the whole shoot the moon and the magic plantain and all that stuff going on, and it was a lot of fun. And again, some of the funnest games I've ever seen. Again, those Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic games, and that was why it was so awesome 2 nights ago when Puerto Rico was able to shut down Dominican Republic. Because that was vengeance. That was like payback for what happened 4 years ago. And I mean, I have never been at baseball games that are that fired up. Honestly, I can't go on about it enough. I feel like the atmosphere is just so completely electric. Every play, every pitch, everybody's just hanging on to every single thing. The fan, it's so much fun.
No,
it really is.
You've been paying close attention, obviously. What are the standings looking like? Like, how does the tournament work? Is it round robin? You lose 2, you're out. Like, what?
Well,
who's looking like
I'll be
moving
honest.
On and stuff.
Okay, well, so right now what we've got, I didn't follow the earliest rounds of this as closely as I could have. We were waiting for our MLB Network account to get set up again. So I've only just recently started watching the second pool or the second round of games. But basically what we've got is we've got 2 finals teams already. We've got 2 teams moving on to Los Angeles. And of course that's Japan and Netherlands. And the Japanese teams are so fun to watch. Their fans are psycho. It is so special. And then again, like Netherlands, I mean, every single country has a style, just different identity. Like the Netherlands teams, I remember like a couple years ago. Well, the first Netherlands team, I think it was like Andrew Jones, and I'm like, wait a minute, he's from the Netherlands, and I was like, oh wait, the Dutch Antilles. Okay, now I get it.
The freaky deaky Dutch.
But like every single player on the Netherlands team is like a middle infielder. So everybody's like a second baseman or a shortstop, super defensively oriented, and they're all playing out of position. Well, but they're all great defensive players. And same thing for the Japanese team. And like, so, you got your Scope, you got your Profar, you got like that Netherlands team's super awesome. Andrelton Simmons. I remember all these players from 4 years ago, and I was like, that's where I first was like, I got to have Scope on my teams, like my dynasty teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Japan's like your clone teams. That's sort of they remind me of, because every batter and pitcher looks the same when they hit and throw.
Well, you know what? I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen they do a lot of very, very strict militant style fielding drills and stuff. Yeah, for little leaguers, like it's like boot camp for baseball.
Oh yeah, they're like a bunch of Tim Duncans out there. They're all like fundamentals.
Yes. Like they can run the bases, they can play defense, they can hit for average, they can hit for power if they have to. They'll slap the ball if they have to. They can all bunt. It doesn't matter if you're like the cleanup guy who hits 230. You can still put down a bunt. Like, I mean, again, it's so special to watch because it's like this. It's a cultural clash. And what's nuts about it is it's almost like Team USA doesn't give a shit. That's what's so weird. Like, I mean, I'm not knocking the players because this is probably the best Team USA team they've had.
Oh yeah, they're loaded.
But when you think about like how good Team USA really should be at America's national pastime, I mean, I'm sorry, Madison Bumgarner was pitching a pointless game last night or yesterday afternoon, and could have he could be pitching a meaningful game instead, like last night in the WBC, instead of playing in Scottsdale against nobody. I mean, that's, to me, it's like if we had Kershaw, if we had Madison Bumgarner, and we had Trout and Harper, and like the game over. And that's absolutely how I think it should be, because it's that big in these other countries. It's that popular. It's like an afterthought here. And that's why the American teams have never traditionally shown very well, is because to them, they're playing in mid-March games. It's spring training.
Yeah, some of the best players aren't there. And obviously, if those guys you listed were actually in the WBC on the USA team, then you would think viewership would go up. So
it would have to. And I'm surprised. Well, that's why I honestly, like, these other countries are playing like it's the Super Bowl. Like, this is a big deal to these other teams and these teams' fans. It's just like the game. All right, so the game last night, Team USA is playing. Like, almost nobody in the stands in San Diego, not a whole lot of noise, not a whole lot of carrying on. But the night before, for Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, the place is like gonna fall down. It's so loud, you know. So like, you know, and tonight it'll be the same way. It'll be so much louder for the Venezuela game. And you know, I mean, if you had that excitement from the American fans and from the American players, this tournament I think would be monstrous. And it's the kind of thing that, with that level of excitement, this is absolutely the thing that baseball needs to stay relevant and regain its sort of youth market. I mean, baseball's fan base on average is, as we know, the oldest on the planet, basically, of all the sports. And so, no, you know, like, if there's not excitement and kids aren't interested, you know, the sport's going to die. And so I think if you had these like absolutely just monster like dream teams, I mean, think about that. A Team USA dream team for baseball right about now, you know, I mean, that would be a glorious team and everybody could be like tuned in. And so I don't know if the best thing for them to do would be like play these games at different time of year. I don't know. I mean, again, it's all these countries have different seasons at different times. When the pool for, you know, round 2 in Japan was playing, like Cuba, you know, they're talking about some of these Cuban players who play in both Japan and Cuba because they can, you know, double dip on a paycheck. So they're, you know, they're playing 2 seasons. That's how diehard these baseball players are. And like, oh man, even like, all right, Team Israel, they were the Cinderella story this year.
Yeah, and then Japan whipped them yesterday.
Yeah, they just beat them like a drum. But yeah, I mean, all these games have been so fun, so much character. And if you're not watching it, I don't know if I'm selling it hard enough. Just watch it tonight. Just watch, or this weekend, because there are so many good World Baseball Classic games coming up. This round 2 that's going on in San Diego, the matchups. I guess it's called Pool F or whatever in San Diego. You got Venezuela.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, you got Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Team USA. And all 4 of those teams are just pumped full of all-stars. And only 2 of them are going to move on. So just watch. Just enjoy some really good competitive baseball that's like October level, possibly even November level, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Like that's how high level this style of play is, and it's that good, and it's better than anything else you could be watching in March, except for possibly March Madness, right?
March Madness, yeah.
Those are like the 2 big things going on.
Oh, for sure. When is the WBC championship game or series or whatever?
That'll start next week, I believe. Actually, I could pull it up. That's probably a waste of time to pull it up, but it is next week. So what they'll do, what they're going to do is this round or Pool F, that's part of round 2. This will stretch out through the weekend in San Diego, and then I think throughout next week with the teams like that moved on from the Japanese second round, you know, so Team Japan and Team Netherlands, they're going to do some exhibition games here in Arizona where we live to get ready for, I believe, next weekend in Los Angeles.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
The game just ended. Sorry. Notre Dame beat Princeton by 1 point.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So the number 5 seed survives the dreaded 12.
There you go. Okay. Now, whose bracket's still intact? Let's check, you know?
I only made 1 bracket this year. I'm good so far.
Okay, you're still good. You had Notre Dame moving on?
Yeah, and I have Virginia moving on. Same 12 versus 5. Virginia's up by 7 with 9 minutes to go.
Okay, I may have to double check myself because I did a few brackets. Some of them were a little bit haphazard, like last minute. So,
for sure, mine.
I may have shit the bed already.
No, I mean to be honest, like I've watched hardly any college basketball this year, so like I only did 1 bracket because it's already a crapshoot, even if you know what you're looking at.
Right.
So when I don't know what I'm looking at, I'm really just kind of go with like traditional trends and team success and all that crap. So I just pretty much closed my eyes and I was like, all right, done.
Okay, now if I'm looking at mine right here, and it's not updated, it hasn't shown the end of the game yet. But my brackets are just based on this bracket. I had Princeton moving on, so I'm already fucked. No $1 billion from what's his name for me. What's that guy? Guy's giving away all the money if you can get like half your bracket right.
I forgot his name. I know he's an old guy, right?
So yeah, Warren Buffett, some old rich guy. Hey, someday one of us is going to win Warren Buffett's money.
Now, I guess to wrap up the WBC talk, will this be the last installment?
I hope not, and that has been somewhat of a question because baseball and softball are supposed to be going back into the Olympics, and that was why World Baseball Classic was created. In general, was to keep baseball live internationally and sort of keep it going. I don't think it's dead. I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. I don't know how to describe it. I think it's just because, I mean, if any of these American players like actually got involved, like this is better than all-star games. Like you have so many great players squaring off, and it's not like, I mean, we had like Jim Leland last night going against like Victor Martinez and Miguel Cabrera. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he's managing against his own players. So and you've got like what was it? The Puerto Rico Dominican Republic game. You had like is Yadier Molina going to give up too many secrets to like Javier Baez about Carlos Martinez? And so you got like teammates playing against teammates, and it's I mean, like again, last night USA Venezuela, we had Cargo going against Nolan Arenado. I mean, there's so many like storylines.
Now that was Jones home run tied it, right? And then Hosmer's won it.
Yeah, the Haas. He went Haas.
Okay.
I get up to get a beer, and all of a sudden the game's practically over. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? The Haas went.
Yeah, I was watching Morosi interview Adam Jones, and Morosi just had this shit-eating grin on his face like the whole time. That's one happy dude, man. He fucking loves his job.
Well, yeah, for sure. But honestly, that you can't. I have never walked away from a World Baseball Classic game without that same shit-eating grin on my own face. That's how much fun it is. I'm serious. Like, it is honestly that much fun to go to these games or watch these games just to see the competition, the level of play, and the level of competition. I mean, I don't know. I can't rave about it enough, I suppose.
I guess we can tie it to fantasy for a moment. I think you guys might have discussed this briefly, but WBC players, who do you avoid them in fantasy, or you focus on?
No, I don't buy that. I know
pitchers instead.
No, I mean, I know people have like made issues of that in the past, like, oh, well, guys, like pitchers especially are kind of at risk, or, I don't have a problem with that because so many of these players are already playing year round anyways, in like, Caribbean World Series and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I really don't buy into that. And I know there's bound to be some, like we had Salvador Perez got banged up at the plate the other night, and he's got a knee contusion, sprained or whatever it is, ligament. Could have been close call, right? Like that's going to happen no matter what. But I don't think I think if you were to go ask these players, that isn't even a thought in their mind. That is not even a concern in the world because they're playing for pride. That's what makes this better. Like, in some regards, I mean, like if you think about like really good fantasy leagues, and I guess this is the way I'll tie it to fantasy. I mean, you can have some paid leagues that are really good. Like think about Major League Baseball. That's the paid league. That's the money league you're in. But that one side league, or not side league, but your home league, whatever, where it's just you and your buddies or whatever it happens to be, and it's there's no money. It's just flat out shit talking rights, bragging rights, pride. Those are the best because again, that's just pure fuck you. I want to win. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no doubt,
like
no doubt.
I don't know, and like I don't know if these players get paid or compensated for playing. I don't really know how that works.
I'm sure they get something.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating to find out. Actually, I'm not sure, but they don't. I mean, look at these guys. They're playing like for country and for pride and for each other. It's so far beyond. I mean, I think they're all just on their game, and I'm not worried about them. Like Puerto Rico, where they're doing the bleached beards and the bleached hair, that'll carry over into the regular season. They're like,
oh, I'm sure.
Carlos Beltran, come like July, is still gonna look like a sea captain, like some grizzled old sea captain.
Yeah, I saw Javi had like the bleach blonde hair and the goatee and all that jazz.
Oh yeah, he did. I mean, they've all done that, and it's like, again, that's camaraderie. That's them being just fired up for team, and that's what's beautiful to watch, frankly. So I mean, I hope everybody out there, just get a little bit of it. James, I hope you can watch some tonight.
Yeah, I'll try and at least catch some. If not tonight, then definitely when it gets closer to the title.
Okay, yeah, and those will be on. I'm pretty sure next weekend, but don't miss Pool F, round 2 in San Diego right now, because these are all-star teams clashing, Titans clashing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out for sure.
All right, well, let's spin over to brackets again real quick, because this is the Busted Brackets party. Woo! Are you having a good time yet? I'm already busted. I'm already fucked on one, so woo! How's that going?
I'm good
you,
so
everybody?
far. I'm good so far. I guess I'm 2-0 right now.
Wow, isn't that my luck that I would absolutely just go out in the first game? Wow. This is great.
That's why I don't put a lot of time into it anymore, man. I used to pay attention and sit down and be like, well, this team's from this conference, and historically, but now I'm just like, you know what? Fuck that shit. Like, I'm just, like, I'm not going to spend an inordinate amount of time like strategize. I just thinking about it and just fill it out.
You almost might as well have like a cup of dice or something, like Yahtzee, and just like roll the dice. Like, okay, and that team's gonna win.
No, seriously, because
I feel like the more research I put in, the worse I do.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's why I didn't bother anymore. I was like, I'll do one bracket. I'm one and done. Okay,
now you're one and done. Let's talk about what you put in your Final Four, if we can. Let's hear. Okay, let's hear what Cubby Knoll. Again, this is our buddy James. Thank you for joining us today, Cubby.
Hey, no problem. Let me bring it up real quick.
Okay, if you would, please.
I know I have, again, my education this year in college basketball was pretty shitty.
Okay.
So I know I have. So Louisville is my national champ.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
All right.
And I have. Let's see. I'm almost there. I'm just scrolling down here. Okay. Let's see. The Final Four have Louisville versus UCLA, and then Villanova versus FSU.
Yep. Nice. Well, I was gonna say I wanted to make sure we wanted to represent the Knowles.
No. Again,
I do have them losing to Arizona in the Sweet 16 or whatever.
No, I mean, realistically I would have done that as well, but and honestly, the Hoosiers are actually the team I follow, but I am rooting for FSU. It's hard not to root for the logo. It's so hard not to when you've been a fan of their football team for so long,
right?
And probably for the novelty of it too. I mean, it's FSU basketball. Like,
yeah.
You know well, I mean?
We've watched a few Florida State games in passing this year. Like, I mean, I think some of the few college basketball games, like you and I have been hanging out on the side or whatever, where I've just been watching, incidentally, we're Florida State. So, they belong.
Yeah, I mean, no, they're good. They got a kid named Isaac. He's a lottery pick. They got a guy named Bacon. He's a first rounder. I mean, they got some. Yeah. And his head coach his name is Hamilton. They call him Ham. So they got Ham and Bacon.
Okay. Nice. Oh yeah, that's breakfast foods. Now you're speaking my language here. Now you're speaking my language.
But yeah, Villanova versus FSU and Louisville versus UCLA. Louisville wins over Villanova 71-67. Mark it down.
Okay. I got a little more I don't know. I guess I did a couple of different brackets, but I had a hard time not picking Arizona or Kansas to win. And I don't know why specifically this year, but I just I'm a little biased with the Wildcats, I guess, being a fan. Not a fan, but local person, an Arizona person.
Oh yeah.
Kansas, hard not to like Kansas, hard not to like UCLA, North Carolina, Villanova, especially. I do have Villanova, Kansas, Arizona, North Carolina right now. And that's my final four in this particular bracket. And I kind of played with a couple different, like I wanted to move UCLA on, get cute with it.
Yeah.
But I always pretty much had Arizona or Kansas taking it down.
Okay.
So that's me. That's this bracket. Currently, I have Arizona beating Kansas. And
Arizona beating Kansas. Okay. See, like I almost had Duke, but on principle, I couldn't do it. I'm over Duke.
Yeah.
I don't like Duke. I've had enough of Duke.
Well, I've got them in the Elite Eight, at least in this bracket. So I don't know. I might have been high when I filled this one out. Who knows? But that's the thing with a bracket. I mean, honestly, like, can you really argue anyone's selection or suggestions? It's like, I mean, there's just so much that can happen. It's one game. It's do or die.
I mean, on face value, my Final Four and my champion is kind of silly with FSU and Louisville coming out on top or whatever. But I've seen more ridiculous.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I kind of tried to take some of the Vegas logic into my brackets these, past few years, and the Vegas logic is that your Cinderella teams, like 1 in 30 years has been in the Elite Eight. So you never fall in love with them. You fall in like, but you don't fall in love. And I think that was based on something Colin Cowherd even said this week too. Just the same thing. Like, just, you have that team. There's, like you were talking about with the upset, Notre Dame and Princeton and all that. Notre Dame survived, but I had Princeton picked as my upset. I was all excited about the whole the Ivy League, I guess.
I mean, nerds. I mean,
they seemed like they were really smart guys.
They almost did, man. I lost my point, but I mean, that's 12 versus 5, almost yearly. The 12 wins, one game at least.
Yeah. So you have to throw one of those into your bracket, it seems like, but you can't.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, you can't be married to that. Like, they're not going to go to the Final Four. They're not going to like win the tournament.
No, they might get to the Sweet 16, but that's probably not much further.
Yeah, and even that's like so outrageous. Like, just, I mean, again, I don't know if anybody else follows that Vegas logic where you're like, okay, and don't do this, and this is the odds, and I try to at least pay attention to that because it's so much of what we do with fantasy. But
oh no, for sure, and like without fail, when you start whittling it down to Elite Eight, the Final Four. I mean, especially the Final Four, you rarely see a team that's seeded below like probably 4 or 5. Honestly, it's almost always 1s and 2s and 3s.
Yeah,
almost without fail. So like,
all right, the lowest seed I have in this particular bracket is UCLA. So
what are they? 3?
3, yeah. So
okay,
that was my big stretch, I guess, in this bracket.
Yeah, right. No, same here. FSU's a 3, and they're my lowest.
Okay. Now, do you have? Are you participating in the FSAA bracket challenge?
No, I did not do that.
Why was that? Pray tell.
Pure laziness.
Pure laziness.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard it mentioned once or twice. So I was like, yeah. Okay. Like I didn't fill out this bracket till like 10 p.m. last night.
Okay.
The only one I did.
Well, fair enough. I mean, like I said, I told you I was like scrambling at like 9 o'clock this morning, Arizona time, because it's, I guess, noon East Coast. They locked at 12:15 East Coast. And so I was like scrambling to get my last couple brackets at like, want to add a few changes.
Oh, yeah.
So
the other game we got going on here is Butler versus Winthrop. Butler's up by 14 at halftime. That's 13 versus 4.
Okay.
Pretty sure I picked Butler. I couldn't go Winthrop there.
Okay, let me see what I've got here. Yeah, definitely went Butler.
And typically when I'm being like lazy looking at a bracket, like I said, I look for past tournament trends. I know Butler's had tournament success. I know that was their previous coach who's he with, the Celtics now? Or no, the white guy. Forgot his name. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm like confused now. Orville?
Or like no, he was a young He's the guy that brought Butler to the forefront.
Okay.
And I think he's now in the NBA. I can't remember his name, but like a Michigan State, not this year maybe, but in years past, I picked them because of their tournament success and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I will say this: this year, when I was trying to like eliminate teams that I'd pick, I pretty much eliminated the Southeastern Conference except for Kentucky. Because the little I do know about college basketball this year is the SEC sucks. Which must suck for some SEC fans because they can't get on their soapbox and be like, the SEC, we're the best conference in the history of conferences.
That's right, we're the SEC.
We're the SEC. Oh yeah, dude, I mess with people around here because I live in SEC country and yeah, those people that make fun of that stereotype, it does exist. Like you'll talk about a team that's not in the conference, like, oh, they got great QB, a great defense, blah blah blah. Yeah. Do they play in the SEC?
but the SEC.
So yeah, in basketball it's like the opposite. Like they blow except for Kentucky and maybe Florida, but
okay, yeah.
So that was an easy way. If it was an SEC team not named Kentucky, I was like, picking you to lose.
Okay. Well,
and you got number one Gonzaga tied. Sorry. I was going to say you got number one Gonzaga tied.
How many games are going currently? Because I am not able to see that on my bracket at the moment.
I think there's at least 2 or 3 now. I think there's 8 total for the day.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say this. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's probably people that are at work, not working right now, listening to this podcast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pepsi Pete joining us. Thank you. I hope you're at work, not working.
Yeah, I see him.
Hey, it's March Madness. You better not be goddamn working. I hope there's almost no work going on for the next 2 weeks, please. Okay.
All right. Now speaking of like seeds and seeding, let's. I guess I'll make a corny segue into fantasy baseball standings and how you try to achieve a certain seed, if you will.
Okay.
And I've heard there's some issues in a particular league that you guys are.
There were some issues, and this actually technically was a fantasy basketball issue. It's been blown out of proportion for almost 2 months now.
Okay, so we're going from basketball to basketball. All right.
But yes, in the FS, it was the FSAA Dynasty Basketball League. It was my home Dynasty Basketball League and also Ryan's home Dynasty Basketball League. The tanking and inactivity problem was a combination, actually. But the problem became so severe and so aggressive that we decided literally we had no other choice but to just lock everyone's team. Not the playoff teams, everyone who missed the playoffs. So if you were in the consolation brackets or not a playoff team, basically anybody outside of the playoffs, you got your shit locked down. And that sadly included Ryan and myself in each other's respective leagues.
Oh, wow.
So he had to lock my team. I had to lock his team, essentially. It wasn't a pretty scene. And, like, here's the thing. We've gone over this ad nauseum. The tanking drum has been
beaten to death
severely, yes. But when it's been beaten that severely, and it's still going on, you've got to address it in some capacity. And what happened, I mean, we literally had, after we had settled all these issues and discussed everything with everybody about how you can't bench your entire team and all this.
Yeah, you threw out the disclaimer and the warning, whatever you want to call it.
I was setting people's teams for them. If you have benched your team and you see that the commission is setting your lineup, you probably shouldn't go bench it again. But some people did, and so everybody, as a result, gets their hands slapped, and our roster's permanently set for the rest of the year. And wherever we finish, we finish. And if you don't get first pick, too fucking bad. Because
you don't have to name names, but those people that got locked or that were like habitual line steppers or line crossers, have they threatened to leave the league or?
No, they've mostly just asked why their teams are locked and asked if they can have their teams unlocked so they can continue benching their players, because apparently they're just still missing the fucking memo. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but like
you didn't get that memo.
They did not get the memo. Apparently, dude, they did not get that memo.
I guess not, man.
I don't. I mean, but here's the thing: when you have first pick locked up, you've got your first pick secured by at least 20 games going into the final week of the season when playoff standings are so tight. Literally, there is 3 games separating every team from 2nd to 7th or 8th place.
Oh, wow.
And you are now benching your entire roster, directly affecting the outcome of the playoffs, directly affecting players that have worked entire seasons while you just sat back and benched your lineup. That's not okay. And that means you get replaced next year. That's that's what's going to happen.
I am not in these leagues, but that sounds like some shenanigans.
I have a problem with it because we had teams that were working on securing bye weeks, who maybe took bad breaks, got beat bad or something like that. But teams went from second place to second place to out of the playoffs. So you go from having a potential bye week to now completely out of the playoffs because one team has benched their entire roster. Jeez. That is by far the worst. And I feel bad, and I wish Ryan was here to talk about this, and we'll have to talk about it at another point. But I have always sort of crapped on Ryan and like, shut up, quit whining about the tanking. It's not that big of a deal. Like blah blah.
But it got to a point where you couldn't ignore it. You couldn't be a blasé anymore.
Well, and it affected not only the competition in my league, it affected my team in his league. And it's one of those things where his worst case scenario, like, oh my God, the sky's falling, actually came true and actually happened. And because of that, I never expected to see it happen. Ryan, maybe you owe me a pie. I don't know, but
he probably does. Here's you a couple.
Well, I feel like there's a situation where perhaps I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that what Ryan was afraid of would actually happen. I just thought Ryan was blowing hot air, blowing smoke, just trying to bust my balls because I was the guy that was
Tommy the Tank.
Right. Like, but never to the level that we've seen in our dynasty basketball leagues. So that's the long and the short of it. They got locked. Yeah. Their teams are locked. They can't control their own destiny. People are upset about it, but it is what it is. And a lot of these people that are upset probably just need to be replaced anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty black and white what you're doing, but I think that's the simplest way to solve it. Like lock them, and then going into next season, you just draw the fucking line in the sand. Like, if you agree to be in this league, this is the line. If you cross it, you're gone. If everyone agrees, then that's it. You can't bitch about your style of tanking. Yeah. You agreed to follow the line or the Constitution or whatever you guys decide to make. And just keep it as black and white as you can. I'm a fan of shades of gray and shit. Maybe I'm a little leftist. Who knows?
Well, right. No, but I absolutely agree in the same regard. It's just one of those things. Like the minimum, we're not even asking a lot.
Yeah, but it gets muddled if you keep it too gray. So you might as well just go simplistic and just draw a line in the fucking sand. Like this is what we're doing. This is what you can and cannot do. The end. Yeah,
I mean, and the line is basically just keep your line. I mean, again, how did the Cubs get so good? Did they suck? Yes. But they also had to field an active roster. They still had to go play 162 games.
And I know devil's advocate will say, well, this is fantasy. So, and I get that, but you're still on some level trying to mimic reality, even in fantasy, at least some semblance. At least I am like, I'll do stuff that's only done in fantasy land, but at least some level you're trying to like resemble reality. So if I was tanking, I would do that. I would have a lineup filled, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go making ads and trades and shit. I'm just gonna it's filled, autopilot, I'm done.
Exactly. And you start that way from the beginning of the season. You're not like affecting playoff outcomes. You're not like benching your entire roster, all this stuff. Now, I mean, it is problematic for me because as a Suns fan, when I watch the Suns winning more games this season, I'm thinking, But no, we need an earlier pick. We need the earlier pick, the earliest pick we can get, please.
Yeah, for sure.
But you can't go tell young players to lose.
To stop
so
trying,
the same thing essentially applies in fantasy. I mean, like, you can't take a team that's full of young players that want to win, that want to prove themselves, that want to like earn that contract. You can't tell them to lose so some guy who's not even here can get a paycheck they're not earning. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. Like for me and for my end, the Jags, you know, in years past, I've been like, oh, what, you know, we won our 4th and 5th game. Fuck. But nowadays, you know, the team is so young and still shitty.
Right.
I'm no longer rooting for that anymore because I just want to see some wins, and I can't blame these young players for still trying. So
well, and I was going to say, and the other thing to that is that you at some point as the GM of that want to see some of those players, your prospects, your stash players, whatever, you want to see them grow and develop and learn how to win, play the underdog, you know, like play the spoiler. So like those games where they're not expected to win, where they should be tanking, it's almost better in some regards for them to go out and win. And you want to see this as a manager for your fantasy team too. At some point, you want to take that thing out of the garage and take it around the block a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, take your team for a spin. And,
for sure.
You know, like play some spoiler. Like if you want to fuck up the playoffs, go beat a playoff team legitimately. You know what I'm saying? Like go bump somebody out of the playoffs instead of like bump somebody from second place to entirely out of the playoffs because you tanked. You already had first pick. You know, I mean, I'd prefer, and you know, those were choices I had to make too. I mean, we've all joked about Tommy the Tank. It's so funny to joke about it. But at some point, I took my team out of the garage and had to take it for a spin. And I didn't kill the playoffs for people. You know, 30 games over 500.
And I think it always depends on sport. And this is probably more so in baseball where it's more of a gamble. But, I mean, you could tank for that first pick, but especially like, let's talk about Bronson because we always talk about Bronson.
He's a perfect example. Bronson, listen up.
Bronson, he's you know, he's a tankster. He's a tankster gangster, I guess. But
the tankster gangster.
you can try so hard for that first pick, but in baseball, man, it's a wild card. Like you could still get fucked. So I don't see some of these people that are so gung ho on tanking, getting that first pick. Like it's you're not a lock to do shit. Like unless you plan on trading it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if it's currency, absolutely. I wish to God I had used like when I go back to these dynasty baseball leagues, the home dynasty leagues, where I had like Oscar Taveras and all this. I wish I had sold him as currency. Are you kidding me?
For sure.
And all right, Bronson, you want that number 1 pick overall? I had it. I got Oscar Taveras. Where's he playing? Where's he playing right now? Not on the fucking surface of the planet. Anywhere. He's not here. He's buried under the planet now.
Yeah.
And like, all right, who was the other top pick, the top prospect that you would want to have that year? Jerkson Profar.
Yeah, what's
he doing? Where's he been for 4 or 5 seasons? I don't know. Maybe earning a utility spot with the Rangers finally.
Yeah,
just now this year. So first pick, Bronson, if you had a middle pick, you could have had Manny Machado. Oh my God, he's putting up first round value. But he wasn't the number 1 pick overall in the draft that year. Keep that in mind when you're tanking.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just a lesson to be learned. I mean, to each his own, but I definitely rather prefer to use it as currency, you know? Like
that's honestly the only way I ever got my teams out of the tank. I mean, I started, you know, after Taveras died and stuff like that, I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this waiting and build like it. You can only build so long until you have something and you have to figure out what you've built.
Like you have to get really fortunate on your hit rate when you take first rounders. Homer, but I use the Cubs, for instance. Like, Chris Bryant's awesome, but that could have gone the other way. I mean, you never know. Like, or Schwarber for that matter. I think Russell was a first rounder for the A's. Like, their hit rate has been like an anomaly. Like that, you usually don't get that type of hit rate with every first rounders. I mean,
no. I mean, there are more first round picks or more early draft picks in baseball that do not work out than do. And so this is probably a little bit more of a, you know, baseball centric conversation than basketball. every sport's different in terms of players. But
sure. Basketball, yeah, I'd be more gung-ho to hold on to a number one in basketball. I mean, it's totally different.
Basketball, again, it's a lot more based on playing time and all this other stuff. But yeah, baseball, though, it's he'll see. Bronson will learn. So, Bronson, get ready to learn. It's going to be funny to watch you learn.
At least he's young enough to wait.
That's why we gave him the team we did. We gave him like old teams that he basically was Bronson proof. Like, just let him do what he's doing. He'll learn. They're training wheels teams.
Now, if
we know he's going to be there.
If his 2020 vision comes to fruition, we've talked about this, off camera, so to speak. He's just going to sit back and laugh. And if he has this hit rate where he's like, all these guys have turned into studs, like who's his shortstop, Rogers, yeah. AJ Reed comes around somehow, and so on and so forth. It'll be pretty funny if 2020 he's just fucking just like in the midst of like his second or third title or something.
I hope so. I mean, I'm still looking for my first title.
As shit.
Well, but I hope so. That's always the goal. That's always what you want to do. I mean, same thing for me when I was in the tank and building. I mean, I still have a few of my pieces, but what I ended up doing was using most assets to get other people's known quantities. And
most definitely.
Bronson will figure that out, and then he'll have a few hits along the way where it works out, and hopefully he is rocking that 2020 vision. And because here's the thing, I hope to at least have one title before that happens. Otherwise,
right?
Because that means I'll be back in the tank if I haven't, and the tanking I did previously was for nothing. So
for nothing, right?
I need a title. Somebody, where's the title?
Yeah.
I need a title. Oh man, but so like we're not gonna have to do any heavy-handed stuff in the Dynasty Baseball leagues. Baseball is a much more gentlemanly sport, I think, in terms of the players that we have in our leagues. I don't know.
Well,
it's not as aggressive.
Basketball is probably more aggressive because the first round players can turn around your team that much more quickly.
Right. Well, and this year was especially in that sense because, again, this is going to be a really deep draft class. Like, this is going to be a good draft class, but that top 3, the top 5, they're all so like pretty good prospects that you do want one of those picks. I mean, you do, but it came down to like half the league, not half the league, like a third of the league or a quarter of the league, like just kind of ruining it for everybody else. And we're not going to have that in baseball, though. I know that's not even going to be an issue, so not even worried about it.
Let's move on to something more positive, I guess.
Well, I wanted to talk about a little more heavy-handed commissioning because.
Oh, you do? How could I forget? I forgot.
Well, you've got your slow draft going on. You got this the Geezers Fantrax slow draft. Set it and forget it.
Yeah, Geezer's a fairly new addict, maybe a month or so. His actual name is Bob, in case anybody didn't know.
Okay, Bob.
Yes, he's a literal geezer, hence the name. And he has an 18-team slow draft. It's roto. It's set it, forget it, which as it implies, like you draft your team and you leave it alone. There's no trades, no ads, drops, and that's it. And it's nice. And we were talking about this before we got on. It's becoming more popular with addicts and for fantasy players that have a lot of leagues because you're like, I'm tapped, man, I'm tapped. But the set it and forget it is perfect because you don't have to manage it, obviously, but you want to have a serious draft. And so we're in this 18-team slow draft roto. And Geezer, who obviously this is my first league with him, so I don't know what kind of commish he is, but he's been commishing for years. But anyway, so we're in it, and he initially is unsure of the pick time, and he sets it at 6 hours, and it's 22 rounds, and we started it on March 10th, I think, so less than a week ago. So we basically have 3 weeks total to get this team drafted. So we have to average about a round a day.
And he's up against the clock already.
Yeah, so we're already up against the clock, and Andrew has more experience in slow draft than I do, seeing how this is my first one. So he was getting feedback from Andrew, Geezer, that is. Okay. And so he wound up setting on 6 hours. We thought it should have been a little shorter, maybe like 4 or 3. But anyway, So we're a few rounds in, and Geezer's talking about, taking the clock back, maybe making it 5 hours during the day. And he always extends it at nighttime. Like at midnight, he'll switch it to like 9-10 hours, so no one's screwed. But anyway,
okay.
So there's this owner, coincidentally a Cubs fan, I assume, because his handle was Wrath of Wrigley.
Okay.
And his name is Jacob, the only guy that had his actual name next to his team name. Like anyone gives a shit what his name is. But anyway. So he's getting on his soapbox talking about, this is a paid league. Mind you, it's $10. It's a paid league. You can't change the pick times after the draft has started, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And on face value, yeah, that's right. On principle alone, sure. You should not change. Maybe it's a little bush league, but it's $10. Well, and he's changed it from 6 hours to 5. If you can't find time to make your picks in a 5-hour interval, then there's a problem. Like, you can't be that busy unless you're like some doctor doing open heart surgery 10 hours a fucking day. Then
let's face it, if you're a fucking cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon, you're probably not doing a slow draft that takes 9 fucking weeks of your time.
No, you're
gonna do a quick draft. You probably have too much on your plate already as it is. But I mean, we're not talking about. It's one of those things. You don't want to see the commish meddling with rules and settings and all that. But we're not talking about a commish that like suddenly changed the. It's not like this went from like a mixed league to NL only, or the commish took your first round pick off your team in some sort of shenanigans deal. Right? Like, I mean, this guy's flipping out about the draft being sped up. I've never heard of anybody that wanted it. Yeah, I've never heard of anybody that wanted the draft to go slower.
Yeah, like I get it's technically a slow draft, but the commission is trying to make sure it gets completed on time. Like, stop being and it's not like he complained about it once. He did it at least another time or two. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, we don't care, And then he gets on the draft chat this is on Fantrax, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that.
I think we did. Fantrax.
And he's on the draft chat saying shit like, this is Bush League, this is bullshit. And me and a couple other people are like, dude, you lost your fucking mind. Like, this is $10. It's an hour difference. And he's, of course, coming up with the obvious response. What does it make a difference between a $10 league and like a 200? And so what's the difference? And some guy chimes in and he's like, 190, I think. But I mean, you get his obvious point. Like, you should treat every draft the same that you're planning on participating in, and I get that. But let's be real, there is a difference between the $200 league and a 10. If you want to pretend there's not, when push comes to shove, and you have a team that's sucking ass, and it's a $10 league, for instance, you're not going to fucking grind it out till week 21. It's just not happening.
No, and whereas, I mean, if you're that hung up on your $10, don't be playing $10 buy-ins.
Yeah, if you think it's that fucking serious, like,
it's too rich for your blood.
Yeah, so I get it. I get in there. I'm quiet at first, but not
first.
Me.
You had to push some buttons. I'm assuming here, right?
Yeah, I had to. So it was just simply, it was basically, shut up and draft your team, man. No one gives a shit. And he was like, well, sorry, I can't make my picks immediately because I have a big boy job. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, big boy job? Like, what are you, a fucking child, referring to your job as a big boy job? It's just called a job.
Yeah. Oh,
man.
And
it's the
big boy job.
Yeah, and it's the response I fucking expected, because anytime something like that comes up where, like, someone maybe says, oh man, this guy's taking a while to pick, almost the response is always the same. Well, I have a life. Like, motherfucker, just because somebody else picks quickly doesn't mean they don't have a life either. It's a matter of clicking on my fucking phone. It takes 2 seconds, all right?
Yeah, it's literally like, okay, let me pause what I'm doing temporarily for a moment to make a draft pick.
It's not a life strain, so stop fucking, like, get over yourself. No one cares about your job, where you work, He's like, I'm 6.5 years into my career. I'm like, all right, so it's your first job out of college. Okay, sounds about right. Like, good for you. We're glad that you work in Chicago and, suck dick for a living, but just make your fucking picks.
Right.
And anyway, so that subsides. By the way, his team is like all pitching and Blackman. That's what he had after like 6 rounds. So good luck with that. But anyway, it's coming up on his his pick late last night, like round 7, whatever the fuck it is, and I see that it's his pick. I'm like, oh boy, I know he's gonna be a dick and like do all 5 hours. Right. But then I look in the draft chat, and Geezer's on there, Bob, saying, "Oh, it's gonna be a second. We got a replacement owner that's trying to log in now." So
Bob replaced him.
So Bob came in with the heavy hand and was like, nice. I don't need this fucking nonsense. I mean, and I don't blame Bob. Like, Bob doesn't know this guy. This guy was referred to Bob from another fantasy manager that Bob knows. So he doesn't give a shit. So he's like, all right, you're out of here, man. And here's your $10 back.
Nice. Okay. I wish there was no refund, sort of, but like.
So yeah, Bob doesn't fuck around. And I don't blame, like, this is a set it and forget it. Can you imagine if you had to manage with this guy?
Oh, it'd be terrible.
Jacob all year round. Like, he'd so fucking annoying. Like, I even told him, I'm like, you're the type of guy that bitches about every trade. He's like, no, I'm not. If there's a bad trade, then one of the guys is an idiot. That's their fault. I'm like, dude, you're bitching about a 1 hour clock. You would bitch about something. You would be annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, there's no way. So,
like, every move, he'd be like, well, what was that? What trade was that? I don't know. He'd have a comment for everything. That's how a lot of these people usually are. There's always one. There's always one. Now, how did Geezer pull this off, by the way? Because now when we're talking about changes midstream here, like changing horses midstream, he literally like changed horses, switched horses midstream, got a new manager in. How did he find a manager that would take on this guy's crappy team already?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It depends on how it finishes. I mean, his pitching's out, but his pitching's really good. But I was wondering too, how do you find a guy to take over a team like third of the way through a draft? Like, that's so strange to me. But
that worked out, I guess.
Somebody, and apparently, you know what that replacement?
Only $10.
Yeah, right. It's only $10. You know what that replacement just did an hour ago? Took my fucking Adrian Gonzalez I was going to take.
So rum ham. So
now I'm at pick 143, which is still like 10 away, and I don't have a first baseman. So I'm looking at like people like Poopy and and like it's looking pretty bleak.
Well, this is 18 teams, set it and forget it.
Yeah,
you've got your first base at a couple of utility and corner infield spots, or how's that?
Yeah, you got corner, middle, 4 outfield, 2 utility, 5 SP.
You're kind of wondering about like what you're going to put at your corner infield spot now, huh?
Yeah, man. I mean, first baseman, I'm looking at like Poopy, Brandon Belt.
Ooh.
I wouldn't mind.
I mean, you can live with Belt.
I wouldn't mind Josh Bell later.
Yeah. Bell's going to be tough to get though. But I mean, honestly, when we're talking about safe floor, this is a set it and forget it league. I would never tell anyone to draft Brandon Belt in any circumstances ever. But maybe you should. You might want to draft Brandon Belt. I'm just thinking for set it and forget it. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, I mean,
he's not. He's. You don't want him, but he's 275.
275, maybe 20 dongs.
Yeah, he's not going to hurt you. I mean, he doesn't get hurt. But he's just not sexy. So
not at all. But with Aegon going, my first base, I'll probably be waiting on till the next go around.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's no rush. I mean, you got to back up somewhere else where you got a strength.
Yeah. Now Andrew is also in this league.
Okay.
And why not? We'll go through the 3 Addicts teams. All right,
let's talk about some Addicts teams here.
In this 18 team, set it and forget it. I do like Andrew's lineup. He's got Freeman, Rendon at third, Correa, Polanco, and Morales. So a few guys are a little bit of power speed, and then he brought in Morales for the thumper. So I don't mind his lineup. I think it's pretty solid for a roto.
Lots of there's lots of like safe floor plus like some upside for Polanco. He's a big Polanco guy though, right?
Oh, he is. Okay. I mean, Freeman's gives you the average power, Rendon gives you maybe 20 and 15. Correa might give you 30 and 20 or 30 and 15.
Yeah.
Polanco's going to give you, I don't know, 12 and 30. So I mean, he's got steals and power mixed in, and then he just got plain power with Morales. So I kind of like his lineup so far.
Lots of batting average too. That's kind of a trend from Andrew.
Surprise with Andrew. But
that's the fantasy age tradition.
Oh, for sure. And his pitching, he missed out just like I did on the aces.
Okay.
But for set it and forget it, it's not horrible. He's rolling out so far Tehran and Maeda. And to kind of make up for that, so to speak, he does have Jansen. So
okay, so he got his closer. He kind of bought a closer early. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So let me go to Geezer.
All righty. If you would, please.
Real quick. He looks like he's got some pitching, but a lot of offense. He's got Dozer at second, Kyle Seager at third, Segura at short, Beltre at corner, Piscotti at his lone outfielder, and he's got.
I bet that's stuck in Andrew's craw for a minute.
Oh yeah, because it was just a couple of picks for Andrew too.
Okay.
And he's got
Rumham.
Right, it's weird getting Rumham in the 18-team league.
Yeah,
you're waiting an hour for your pick, or actually, you're probably waiting about a day for your pick.
Yeah,
and then
you're just waiting all day. And that's even more painful, Rumham too, because it is such a deep league.
Yeah, it is. And then his pitching is mad bum. You can't get much more floor than that.
No.
And Salazar, and he's got one relief pitcher in Herrera.
Okay.
So his lineup's got some power, got some speed with Segura. And,
it's kind of AL heavy in terms of the offense, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Like, I can live with that. Okay.
Yes, I don't mind Geezer's team. Then let me click on my team. We can wrap this this Fantrax shenanigans up. And Andrews is his fantasy A. That's his team name, and Geezer's is Thunderbats.
Okay.
And mine is the Strikeouts are Fascist. Bull Durham, for those of you that don't catch the reference there.
Yeah, there we go.
I had the second pick overall, which means I went from second pick to 35th, which is like fuck.
Ooh, yeah. That's a long wait.
Andrew had the 14th. I can't remember what Geezer had. I think he had next to last or close to last, like 16, 17. Anyways, I got Bryant. I grabbed Peraza at 107.
Yeah.
Got Nelson Cruz. Peraza's my shortstop, by the way. And JD Martinez. So I got two outfielders in the 4 outfield setup. And then I missed out on aces too, but I did go with some floor and a little bit of ceiling with Hamels and DeGrom. And when I finally decided to grab a relief pitcher, the closers were like complete dog shit, as I told you before. And so I grabbed Miller time, I wanted more Ks. I wanted some ratios. So I'll hopefully find save people later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even with the alternative facts about Cody Allen and the fake news about his potential arm injury, that was some other Cody's injury. Cody.
Yeah.
What's his name? Anderson. Even with all that fake news and alternative fact, being put out there, you still needed those strikeouts, and you still without the saves, you're fine. I mean, that's right. You're gonna find your saves guys late. I
might find a 30-something save guy, but he'll have like a 3.5 ERA.
Right. Which, I mean, again, if he's got a job and he's guaranteed a job, that's not necessarily the worst thing ever. Again, you're compensating for that other areas within your pitching staff, and this is set it and forget it. It's literally it's that long. It lasts that long. You saves, not having a ton of saves is not going to cost you the league. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think so. And
not having 5 early closers is not going to be the difference between you winning versus not winning in this situation.
No, I don't think so. And I'm not going to go through the other 15 teams, but when I looked around, I will say that, and it shouldn't be a surprise, I do like all of our teams. I'd probably put all 3 of our teams in the top 5 or 6.
Nice. Well, there you go, Addicts. Addicts representing Addicts. I love that.
Just one man's opinion, but yeah, looking around, I was like, man, I kind of like this team, relative to the league, and it's Bob. I kind of like this team relative to the league, and it's Andrew. So
right. I mean, just hearing the 3 teams you've listed for me, I still maybe I have a bias. You know me, I like a lot of home runs. Yeah. So when you're telling me you got Nelson Cruz and Just Dongs, JD Martinez, sign me up. Yes, please.
Yeah, and Chris Bryant.
Yeah. Oh man, you got there's just dongs just flopping in your face everywhere. And then you got some steals too with the Peraza. I mean, you'll still probably need to handcuff a little more with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very tempted with pick 143 to pair him with Aledmus.
Ooh, yeah.
It's tempting, but we'll see.
I like it.
It's
fun. I like it.
This is, like I said, my first slow draft. I've never been anything deeper than 18, and I really haven't done it.
Okay.
So it's a cool experience. Like projecting who's going to be left when it's your turn, when you have to wait like 33 picks, is kind of a fun game. At least the first go around for me doing this.
Right.
And a lot of it is like, I don't know. You've done deep leagues like these more than I have, but it seems like there's a little more like luck lottery factor in these deep leagues sometimes, like where it falls. Whereas like 12 team, 14 teams, like you can kind of pick your shit when you want a little more, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, there's in a league that, the deeper the league, there's going to be more agendas, more, obviously just more people picking. So all these managers are all going to have like, there's going to be like 2 guys doing the same strategy in this part of the draft. And I mean, there is a lot of like, I mean, I've been in some of these deep drafts where you're like, how did that even happen? How did that player come back to me that long? Or like, like, why didn't that player come back to me? Like, I wasn't supposed to pick him for 2 more picks.
Yeah. I haven't got the literal snipe right before my pick, but yeah, I've already had a handful of a few picks away and get sniped, like the Aegon thing. And again, Adrian Gonzalez isn't sexy in our like standard like 14 team leagues and shit, but when it's 18 team and it's set it and forget it, he becomes attractive.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. And I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm actually disappointed I wasn't able to jump into this particular league.
I wish there was another couple addicts, but Bob was just throwing it out there and it just started filling up really quickly.
Well, that is the new rage. It's in vogue now. It's the new hot shit. It's the new hotness. It is set it and forget it. Sci-fi leagues, baby.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like having 1 or 2. And Andrew, if any of y'all listening, probably know Andrew Fantasy Aid. He's got a set it and forget it draft coming up this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I think you might have to hit him up if he ever gets back on the site. But he might be AWOL for a couple days, he said. But if you have another way of getting hold of him, you guys should check because he might have another slot or 2 that he needs to fill to complete the league. So
you guys could always, if you're looking for a set and forget it league this Sunday, check him out on Twitter. I think probably is the best way for most people to get a hold of him at Fantasy Aid 1. Fantasy Aid and the number 1. Pretty easy. And so I guess we'll just kind of wind it down on that. We'll get excited. We're probably going to do an FSAA, set it and forget it. I mean, your draft calendar at this point, you showed me a screenshot the other day of like your, reminders, your calendar on your phone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like, I mean, like if you're a fantasy baseball addict, your dance card's getting full at this point because we're getting close.
Oh yeah. We're 25th, 26th. I'm fucked out the window for sure. Like I have 6 drafts that weekend.
Everybody's draft. I mean, we're literally like knocking on the door from nothing but drafting. And so I hope everybody's set for that. I'm excited.
Yeah, I guess while we're on there, I'm sure many of you addicts have gotten the emails, but I guess Tom, you can, announce the draft times if you don't have them in front of you. I could probably pull up my calendar.
Well, I don't know that they are entirely 100% official. They could be placeholders.
They're tentative. We'll call them tentative.
Okay, if you want to run through the tentative draft times, I don't know that these are
official, or confirmed, but
because we had 2 different commissioners setting 2 different things, and I'm not sure.
Schmoopy. Okay, well, the FSAA head-to-head draft is currently scheduled for Saturday, the 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Then 2.5 later.
That I think is definite.
Okay. Then 2.5 hours later is the FSAA Roto auction at 8:30 Eastern.
All right.
Okay, so you're back to back right there.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody can make those. I know, sometimes Roto is not everybody's style, but hopefully you'll all be there.
Yeah, hopefully. And then Sunday, the 26th, is your home league, the League of Evil. I know there's a couple addicts, or more than a couple addicts in there, actually. That draft is set for 8 p.m. Eastern on the 26th.
I may push that back because I didn't actually set my own draft time. Ryan, I don't know why you were setting my draft time, but you set my draft time, and we didn't even have a chance to talk about it. We'll have to talk about it at some point.
Well, I wouldn't complain because I got 2 other drafts that day.
Yeah, there's a lot of drafting that weekend.
And now, again, it is a keeper draft, so it should only take like 45 minutes.
Those are literally like 20 minutes. I mean, it's 5-6 rounds. It's over, bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, and then finally, that same day, Sunday, March 26th, is the FSAA Dynasty Draft, which, again, is going to be another short 30, 45-minute draft, and that's scheduled tentatively for 9 p.m. Eastern time on the 26th.
Okay, yeah, I guess basically the question mark would be, when are the Dynasty Leagues drafting? Those may have been placeholders. Again, I haven't had a chance to talk to Ryan in depth about it yet.
Yeah.
And, our co-commish, Reverend Nate Dogg, threw down the FSAA Dynasty draft time the other day just to kind of as a placeholder around that time. So,
yeah. I mean, honestly, you could get feedback from the league, but those two, your League of Evil and the FSAA Dynasty, since there's just 30 to 45-minute drafts, you can easily throw those on a weeknight. And I'm sure, like you could easily do a Wednesday nighter or something, whatever. That's not that tough. Hey guys, can you spare 45 minutes on a Wednesday night?
Yeah, and absolutely. Well, and that's the thing too, because we'll probably just do one live stream for all 3 drafts or something. Yeah. And, that makes pretty good sense. So we'll just see what everybody's feeling. Definitely the main FSAA leagues, those are set for that weekend, set for that Saturday. So again, double check the website. I think we have them posted now.
Yeah, because I know I'm not the only addict that's pretty much effed out the window that 25th,
that whole
26th weekend.
That whole weekend. So that's everybody's draft weekend. So
if even one of those redrafts was pushed to another day, I'm sure people would be like, thank fucking God.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll play it by ear. We'll see what's up. I'll talk to Ryan. Ryan will talk to us, and we'll see what's up. And, stay tuned. Hopefully you can get into those leagues. If anybody hasn't gotten an invite yet, please let us know. I don't know if we have any spots left, but I'll double check today. I haven't had internet access for a minute, so hopefully, though, everybody's ready to go. I mean, we've all done our homework now. We've mocked.
Yeah.
We've sci-fied. We're set.
Oh, for
ready.
Sure. Yeah, I think next week, maybe midweek, I'm guessing the site people start filling up the fantasysportsaddicts.com again because I feel like a lot of us got maybe not burnt out, but
it's the dog days.
Mocks.
Yeah, it's the dog days.
It's the dog days of the preseason, and then next week you're gonna need that refresher.
Yep.
Check rankings updates
especially updates. And,
so I suspect there'll be a lot of mocks going on this time next week.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, Cubby, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast this afternoon.
Yeah, no problems. Good time.
That was a great podcast 87. It was quite a party. Yeah. And check out Cubby Knoll. Check out his YouTube channel. Hit him up on Twitter at Cubby, Nole, Cubby Knoll. Cubs fan, Florida State Seminoles fan. Good luck to your Florida State basketball team. And again, thank you for joining me. We are Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous. You can hit up our website, fantasysportsaddicts.com, or hit us up on Twitter at letter F, letter S, word double, letter A, FSAA. In the meantime, a little fantasy sports serenity prayer for you to send you off into the night. Fantasy gods, please grant me the serenity, set my ideal lineup, courage to add drop aggressively, and the wisdom, as always, to make good trades and not bench your lineups. Woo! Amen. FantasySportsAddicts.com. Thank you again, Cubby Knoll. You have a tremendous afternoon. I will talk to you later.
All right, later.
All right, we'll see you guys later.